Welcome to the Divine Feminines podcast and channel. I'm your host, Steph Desar, and in today's episode, I'm talking about how you can access your dark feminine energy. Now, before I get started, don't forget to like and subscribe this channel. We're the Divine Feminines on YouTube and all major podcast platforms. That's Apple, Google, Spotify, and we're also on Instagram and TikTok, and that's Divine Feminines with a Z at the end. So why like and subscribe this channel where we've got great content on mind, body, soul empowerment. It's also for both men and women, how you can become your best self, soul growth, really manifest the life that you really want. And on YouTube especially, when you subscribe, you get bonus content on the moon cycles, energy portal updates, and guidance for manifesting the life that you've always wanted. So I'm sure there's something in it for all of you. So I've covered a few episodes on accessing, channeling your divine feminine energy, balancing your masculine and feminine, connecting with your dark feminine, and sharing more about what the dark feminine is. And this episode is an extension of that. And so if you haven't listened to the other ones, I recommend you do, because that would be useful to kind of get a better understanding. But I am going to go into some sort of foundational layers of dark feminine energy. I'm sure if you're listening to this and you are here with me now, well, welcome. Thank you for all the new subscribers and to the existing Soul Tribe. I'm really grateful to have you here. That you're interested or have a desire or interest to access and understand your dark feminine energy. And in order to do that, you have to uncover your shadow feminine side. And as a woman, to unlock a powerful force that's within, and actually the dark feminine is what I would call a destructive, necessary, destroying type energy, but for all good purposes, right? Destroying to allow space for the new and better and healthier ways, and it's enabling us to destroy and break away from our old world, our old ways of being, and exploring those techniques is what I want to go through now. And I've shared more in the past, but I wanted to do a refresher, but also share some more insight. And one thing I haven't spoken about the past is the meaning and the history of the divine feminine energy. This spans, all the way back to ancient times. This is like not something that just happened the other day. And this is why, when you're more attuned to what's going on in the society and media, you don't get this kind of content. You don't get this kind of information. And it's ancient, ancient knowledge. It is actually really necessary information. Sorry, I just had to get a drink there. And it's phenomenal that a lot of this knowledge is there, but only if we, look or have the intention to want to know more, that it comes. A lot of it's been suppressed and removed, but there's been there's been many figures that I think that represent dark feminine energy too that I want to mention. We first have Tara, who's represented as the Buddhist goddess. And dark feminine energy really is the shadow side of femininity. So basically, it's the destructive nature of feminine energy. And the story of the dark feminine really goes back to these times, as I said. And, popularly, it's been, given through the stories of Tara and Kali. Personally, because I do a lot of yoga, I remember one of my yoga teachers in Costa Rica, Ginny. It's Ginny. She was incredible. We were doing the warrior poses, and it was amazing, because she was basically talking through the story of Kali, and she was telling us the story of Kali as we did the different warrior poses, and I just thought that was phenomenal. So shout out to Ginny. I have to message her. She was phenomenal. What a great yoga teacher. That gave me so much fulfillment. And we'd start our day on this beautiful crystal mountain, overseeing such beautiful countryside in Costa Rica, and having these yoga sessions with such an amazing teacher. So both men and women, I digressed, both men and women need to embrace their divine feminine and the dark feminine that is residing within the divine feminine. So, you know, we need to restore that balance into the world. And, you know, I always talk about this, and it's an ongoing effort. It's an ongoing job for us all, right? We all kind of take that ownership and accountability, and we're going to make massive impact. It's, you know, the feminine, the dark feminine rises because it's everything that we've made inferior and suppressed. So anything that's been frowned upon actually isn't. And as that changes and shifts, the dark feminine rises. Ego, vulnerability, and darkness are not inherently evil. Like, why do people think that ego is bad? Like, ego is always going to be with us. We need to have a healthy relationship with our ego, and knowing your shadow will allow you to have that healthy relationship with your ego. Vulnerability is not a weakness. It's not being overly emotional. It's actually being authentic. And darkness isn't, you know, necessarily bad, just because everyone associates light with good and dark with bad, and it's not. And I've said this before. So, you know, Tara specifically, her story, she's a Buddhist goddess, and, you know, the sort of counterpart to Buddha, let's say. She's the female Buddha, basically. And she's the compassionate mother of liberation, and is generally shown seated on her lotus throne with a right leg hanging down, you know, dawning a fierce expression. She represents this navigation of stormy waters. We experience self-doubt, and resembles the blackness of the womb where life begins. So she really represents depth, stormy waters, you know, and that waters being watery, deep, emotive energy, you know, deep emotions that reside in our shadows, fears, and all kinds of things that come with that. And also the dark womb, meaning death and transformation, death, rebirth, right? And then Kali, she's the Hindu goddess of death and destruction. And again, depicted as a black goddess. So you'll see, if you ever see pictures of her, she's kind of in dark colors, and she embodies Shakti, and that's divine feminine energy. And, you know, creativity in her story. She was birthed by Durga, the Hindu warrior goddess. After demons overran the world, she destroyed those demons. And her blackness, you know, symbolizes and represents eternal darkness, which can both destroy and create. And so this story really highlights the way dark feminine saves the world through the destruction of the world. And when I say that, I'm not going around blowing up the world. It's the destruction of what no longer serves us from within, right? Destruction represents our interior and exterior world. We have the power to destroy negative belief systems and subconscious patterns and limited thinking and behaviors, and, you know, destroy wounds so that we can heal. And when we do that, that's all internal work. But once doing so, your external reality changes. And I am living proof of that. I can't tell you how much my life has transformed and changed so significantly. And it was consistent work, and it still always is. But it is just incredible when you do that work internally and you commit to doing that. So what's the importance of dark feminine energy? Well, as meaningful as feminine energy is, dark feminine is equally important, right? So, you know, both powers must work together. They must be, you know, in some sort of harmony. You can't have creation without destruction. I always say you can't be calling something new into your life without creating space for it. And that's basically the same thing. And, you know, however, shadow feminine only makes herself known when we can embrace failure. So the shadow feminine is your dark feminine. And, you know, it's when we can accept failure, shame, guilt, negative emotions, insecurities, whether that's the way that we look or the way what we think about ourselves, and other emotions that, you know, repress through societal conditions. You know, I'll tell you one thing. This is something, and it was in a conversation, and I won't mention any names, but I think it's a really good one. I'm celibate, currently celibate. I'm proud and feeling my energy, and actually I'm going to do an episode on that and how powerful that can be for the feminine and the masculine. And I'm happy to shout it from the rooftops. I've got no fear in it. But I was mentioning it to someone and they sort of had like a, oh no, I wouldn't really want to say that I'm celibate, because my community and, the community I'm in, they that's not something I could like sort of say and stuff. And I realized that that's a societal, restraint. That's a limiting belief because of society, and worried about what others think, and worried because that's the way that community behave. So I need to kind of behave a certain way to just sort of fit in, or not to attract attention to me. But actually, the whole purpose of being celibate is such a beautiful one. It doesn't mean that you can't get your leg over or whatever. You can't get a man or a woman. It doesn't mean that. It's power. It's a choice. It's actually self-love. It's knowing that you're worthy only for the right energy, and that you're not just going to be with someone for the sake of being with someone. And actually, when you're celibate, you have more power if you do the access and you channel the energy. The sexual energy is not meant to just be for sex, right? Sexual energy is meant to be for channeling and transmutation, and it's actually a very creative energy and a manifesting powerful energy. So you can actually use that to alchemize, and it's incredible. So to yield your true feminine nature means to let go. And to let go, you have to acknowledge all the bad and all the sort of dark and deep-seated things that are going on with you in order to let go. And then you can start to receive. So, I speak to a lot of feminines and they're like, yes, I need to be in the receiving mode. And sometimes, and no disrespect to them because I've got love, I was there once too. So I was thinking the same. It's like, oh, I've just got to like accept help from friends. Or if someone wants to do something for me, yeah, I'll say yes. Or I'll stop giving so much so that I can start receiving. It's not just about that. It's letting go of your internal world, of things that need to be destroyed. So then there's space, and then the essence of receiving can be possible. So if you're like, oh, I'm just going to, receive more support from friends and family, I'll receive, I'll stop giving so much and receive. That's just a fragment of it, because the deeper part of it all is the letting go within, right? Letting go of beliefs, patterns, ways of how you think of yourself, letting go of what you think people need to do in your life, or what you have fixated on from society or whatever it is, so you can make that space to receive. And that's receive in multiple ways, not just people giving you help or giving you more love. It's receive downloads, it's receive intuition, it's receive blessings, it's receive more support from the universe, not just from people and friends and family, right? So when you finally surrender and ask for the help, transformation does actually take place. And one thing I want to say is that we don't just have one transformation, right? I am constantly transforming, and it is an always on job, and I'm constantly refining, because the only one constant thing in life is change. So when you can embody and feel comfortable in change, you're literally an unstoppable force. I'm gonna tell you that. And it might be an innate in me because I'm a Scorpio that has really embraced my Scorpionic energy for death and transformation, and I ride that wave pretty well, I could say. But back in the old days, no, Scorpio is a fixed water sign, so you do hold on to things that you're used to because of fear and because of what you're used to, and you don't like change. So with it in itself, that's kind of a contradiction, right? So I'm sure you can appreciate that. So look, like I said, we can only really have this opportunity to access that dark feminine energy when we allow the surrendering. And then we have to drop that veil, to see beyond. And and that's important, because otherwise we won't be able to really access that divine feminine energy, the dark divine feminine energy. So I'm going to go through some ways of accessing it, and I have shared some before. This is an extension. I am sharing more incremental insight and wisdom and ideas here, and I think it's worth taking heed of these. Take some notes, think to yourself what you feel might be something you can kick off with as a starting point, and that's a great way to start having a ritual for yourself. The first one's about shadow work. Well, I mentioned the shadow side of the feminine. Shadow work, really our shadow self. It's very much embedded in our ego. So, like I said, the ego isn't a bad thing. The ego just holds a lot of computed, because our brain's like a computer, right? It is. Signals all the time, recording past behaviors, past experiences, and everything. And that's what the ego really is. It's an amalgamation of computed past experiences. It goes on historical events, right? It's like a little data bank. And it's like, oh, that happened. Okay, so then I've got a belief, like, I don't know. Someone always turns up late, and then it's like, well, they're always going to turn up late because that's what's always happened. You don't even have the ability to think that they could turn up early. So then you're literally manifesting it anyway. But that's just a very basic example. So when we go into our shadow self, we're doing away with those negative belief systems, and we're uniting with separate parts together. So we're actually bringing together, things that need to have what's in the dark, that needs to have the light shone upon them. And, your shadow self is dark, and it disowned parts of you, basically, disown parts of your personality. And this is how you step into your authenticity, is when you embrace who you really are, and you ride that, and you're proud of who you are, and you don't care what anyone thinks. But we all have parts in our personality that we might be conscious of. Oh, if I say this, or I do this, or I show that I'm interested in this, or this is how I am as a person, people are not going to like me so much, or that it's not accepted in society, or it's not on trend. Yeah, because there's always this trend shit that goes on, excuse my language. So let me not get into social media, but you get all these trends on TikTok, on Instagram, and people just wasting their time doing all these trend videos just for views and stuff like that. But what are you gaining? What are they gaining from that? And then everyone wants to follow suit, but it's just a bunch of following. Like, there's no ownership, there's no leadership. I don't even know what, people might say, oh, it's fun. Really? It's quite degenerate. You're just consuming nonsense. You're not out there creating, and actually creating the life that you can really have by being deliberate about what you consume. We're here to create. And if we're here using most of our time consuming, then you're a waste of space on earth. And I said that, you're a waste of space on earth, because the whole point of coming to earth is to self-master and to enjoy the beauty of creation, and the fact that you are a creator, and see how you can create worlds, universes, new realities. And it's incredible. So why wouldn't you want to do that? But if you're stuck in old ways and habits, and I want to do another episode on stop playing small, because when you're stuck in habits and routines, and oh, this is nice, and this is what I'm used to doing, you're playing small. You're not allowing yourself to expand, right? You're just sticking to a routine that is limiting you from bigger opportunities of evolving. So you can do your shadow work by sitting with yourself. You need to be on your own, right? Remember I said that. Ask yourself now, how much time do I spend alone? When I get time to myself, do I quickly use that to go and socialize, or go out and do stuff, or keep myself occupied? When you get time to yourself, do you say, do you know what, I've got this day, I don't know, in the week where I don't have like any responsibilities, there's no work, or there's no kids to tend to, or whatever it is, and I'm just going to be with myself. I'm going to spend that whole day with myself. Ask yourself, do you do that? I mean, most of what I do is on my own, and I absolutely love it, but you have to get used to being in your own company. If you can't do that, then you're never really going to accept who you are, love yourself for who you are, and really show up for who you really are. So spending that time alone, engaging into exercises, writing out affirmations, how you feel, journaling with that, but even crying, understanding what is troubling you at that point in time, like the things that keep bugging you and things like that, like make a note of it, and make a mental note of it, and try to associate the feelings around it. And the feelings, what feelings of insecurities? Why are you feeling like you're not good enough and things like that? Because that's the part of, our personalities that we, it might be things or interests we have, or even just like talents that we've got that we're like, oh, because no one's really going to really like the fact that I don't know, I sing, or I build origami, or I like, gardening. But it gives me joy and I'm really good at it, but I'm not going to talk about it and I'm not going to really show anything about it because, it's not really accepted. What the heck? That's definitely a place for, giving time and attention and understanding why you feel the way you do so you can start to release that. The next one's about alchemy and really inspired by Paulo Coelho's book, The Alchemist. It's all about, alchemy, yes, is about changing base metals into more valuable metals, like lead into gold. But on a deeper level, in terms of like self-transformation process, it's the alchemizing of our internal thoughts, feelings and processes into better, healthier beliefs that then transform and externalizing our reality into more positive outcomes. And that in itself is alchemy, and constantly playing with alchemy. It's a dance. It's beautiful when you do get the hang of it, but you have to accept the shadow. You have to listen to your intuition. Spending that time alone and with your shadow will help you with accessing your intuition as well, which is important for your shadow and for your dark feminine. The next one is meditation. Well, it's a beautiful practice. I think everyone, regardless of trying to access their dark feminine, need to consider some type of meditative practice. Now, some people don't like to sit still, and I always say you can walk and just have a walk. You can cook and just be like there in the moment, being really present, right? It's about really being present, but developing that mind, body and spirit connection is important, and becoming in tune with those emotions, because when you start to meditate, you'll realize that things will come to you unconsciously, and that's great, whether it's a person, a feeling, an idea. Oh, it's fantastic. Some of my best healing moments have come out of people or feelings popping into my head, or into my sort of conscious brain. It's coming in from the subconscious to the conscious brain to show itself. And some of my best outcomes or decisions I've made have come from a moment of meditation, and I've had that inspired action, or because I've been meditating and continually connecting with my mind, body and spirit as I go off into my day. I then get these inspired messages, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this now. I'm going to do this. And it wasn't sometimes never planned, but so effortlessly miraculous. And that is the beauty of it all. So, you don't need to clear your mind while doing it. Just be patient. Things will come up. And this is why everyone's like, oh, I can't do meditation because I've got to sit still and my mind's running 20,000 miles per hour. But actually, those things that are running through your head, take mental note. Be mindful of them, because those are the things that are bugging you that you need to kind of make peace with, And oh gosh, there's a little insect here that really just wants to come and hang out with me, and I'm like, go. Sorry, guys. The next one's journaling, and I kind of touched on this before, but as you spend that time alone, as you're meditating, things are going to come to you, and journaling and writing down things consciously and unconsciously. So what you can do after meditation is actually just set an intention of what you want to be receiving from your higher self, and then journal or write, and that's called automatic writing, where you kind of just start to write, but you're not thinking with your conscious brain. And that will show some things that are coming up in your unconscious, and that's really powerful, actually. And I really recommend doing it. I'm going to take more time to do that, actually. It helps you really train your intuition as well and connect with your intuition. But just other journaling of, and you can write healthy and positive affirmations, especially if you're getting feelings of lack of self-worth, or I don't feel I'm beautiful, or I don't have, the most intelligent ideas and things like that. then you can write affirmations that counteract those. Like, yes, I'm intelligent. I come up with creative ideas. They are well respected and acknowledged and recognized. Do you know what I mean? Okay, the next one's chakra balancing. So as you know, we've got 7 chakras, right? We've got our root chakra, our sacral, our solar plexus, our heart chakra, our throat chakra, our third eye, and our crown. And it's important to have those in balance. If you're not in, alignment of your chakras, then you won't really be able to access your dark feminine energy, because you'll be off balance. You'll just generally be chaotic or off balance. And this is, again, coming back to that, having that time for yourself, having that time to look after your mind, body, and soul as well, so you can really connect with your chakras. Now, a way to balance chakras is through meditation, is through taking time alone. There are affirmations. They're also on the Divine Feminine's podcast page on Instagram, probably some old posts that are based on each chakra, that are affirmations on each chakra to kind of help clear and stimulate, clear blocks for that chakra and stimulate that chakra and that energy center. And also you can have certain foods, wear certain colors to sort of bring more balance, and work with crystals that help bring more harmony and balance to your chakras. I am going to do probably an episode on opening your heart and balancing your chakras. And actually it's funny as I said that, because the next one's about opening your heart. And opening your heart is a courageous act. It's not about just oh, when I open my heart, it means that I'm giving love. It's not really just about that. Opening your heart is, is forgiveness and vulnerability. And that's difficult to understand, especially, excuse me, if a person has done you wrong and, there's a resentment that resides. And, I always say that if someone's done you wrong and you can't find forgiveness, you don't have to have them back in your life. I've had so many people that I feel might have not did me right, or I felt didn't handle situations right. But then I did feel, a bit disappointed, saddened, upset, whatever that was at the time. But I found forgiveness for them and I moved on. They're not in my life. I don't want them in my life personally. I'm done with that. And it's not because it's whatever, but it's in the past. And if you don't find peace with the past, how can you live in your present, So it only holds resentment. And I always say resentment is only a wound and a block on yourself. Resentment's not a good vibration to have, or a great frequency, right? It's the opposite of love. So, opening your heart and connecting to your shadow will allow you to see where you can bring about more peace and find more peace to yourself. And accessing that dark feminine energy is to understand that you must learn to let go. So where there's someone in the past, and even I'll give you an example, you may have loved someone so much, right? And especially if you experience twin flames, but you're living your life and you moved on. You can always say, oh, there's a space there, not a space, or there's always a part of me that loves that person or loves what that person brought to my journey. That's okay. But if you're holding on to them here, that's not good. And you're not going to be able to move on, and you're holding on to maybe the possibility of being with them, or just that that's a bit of then it becomes a bit obsessive love, and it's not good. And actually, that's the love that you need to be giving yourself, which is part of the journey to self-love. And the next one I'm saying in accessing your dark feminine energy is practicing true self-love. And now, true self-love, right, is not just going to spas and to massages and, having some nice, dainty time to yourself. Yeah, that's lovely. That's nurturing and it's luxurious, and we should definitely treat ourselves like the goddesses that we are, right? And the gods. But it's about really accepting who we really are, how we look, how we feel, what we enjoy doing, our gifts, our talents, our opinions, and our unique voice and presence in the world. It's really accepting that and then embracing it and stepping into authenticity. So this is that type of self-love, of really giving that time to really recognize who you are, and love that version of who you truly are. And in that, everyone loves you because you love you. I walk around and I just have so much beautiful energy. Like, just, it's beautiful. Like, the whole universe is just smiling at me, and I realize it's because I truly wholeheartedly accept and love myself and show up in my authenticity. So I know it's possible, and I'm here saying this because I would love for you all to experience that. If you're not already experiencing some of this already, you can be on your way there. And the next one is embracing change. Change is not easy. And what did I tell you? Like, I've been there so many times. And when you're committed to doing this, you've got to be prepared that things will constantly change. And anyway, life changes, right? Life changes all the time. That's the one constant in life. I said that at the beginning. When you can ride that wave and go with the flow and not try to control things, you are laughing because, and I say laughing from a really good point, because you're accepting that it's for your highest good, but you're also allowing for the newness to come in. You can't ask for the healing and the destruction, or the healing which is from destruction and change, and the newness and a new life, and manifesting a more healthier outlook. You can't if you don't embrace the change that will have to occur for it to happen. And then the next one is enhancing your emotional intelligence. So, this is really about learning, better ways to communicate and listen and handle emotional communication with friends, family, romantic partners. Really, I've done an episode on, love languages, but it's also, expressing how you feel, how you listen to others, how you don't kind of jump to conclusions, and you work together for better ways of finding for what is more understanding and support and collaboration, but from an emotional standpoint. So not, being vulnerable and creating that system and a communication style for approaching life is a great way to sort of start. And then finally, heal female relationships. This is a big one because, whether it's with family, mother directly, aunts, cousins, sisters, or even friends, work colleagues, women in society that you have grown up around, ask yourself and have a look, right? And this is a big one. Have a look at your relationship with key women in your life. Your mum. My mum's passed. I had an amazing relationship with my mum. My mum was incredible. Like, if she was still physically alive, I can't even imagine what life would be like. She had to go. There was a contract we had. She had to go so that I could rise in my feminine. But as I was doing my healing work, even though I thought my mum was incredible, there was parts of me that had certain beliefs and feelings around my mum because of the choices that she made that I didn't quite like. And I kind of maybe had a little bit of anguish and upset around, why did you do that? Like, why did you stay with dad? Or, why didn't you just kind of just go and do you? Like, it was okay. You could have done it. You don't care what anyone thinks. So I then took on certain ways of being, like, I'm going to do me, but I went too extreme because of some of the things I saw with my mum, and I didn't want to be suppressed. So, but absolutely loved my mum. So that's not necessarily like, what I'm trying to say is I didn't have a bad relationship with my mum. I had a great one. But there was certain things about, what I learned from my mum or saw from my mum from a young age that then created those thought patterns and beliefs. But then for those that may not have a good relationship with their mum, or there's a lot of codependency, there's a lot of distortion because your mum is not healed, or is self-aware and hasn't been doing this work, that is something that you can change. And I tell you this because it's happened with my dad. My dad, so old school, patriarchal, everything. But when I started to really do the work on myself and really invest in myself, it took some time, but the way my dad is with me now, I can't even believe it. Like, it's phenomenal. Now, don't get me wrong. There's times where, he's not. The way he behaves towards me is respectful. It doesn't mean that he's gone and transformed and changed. No, I've just manifested his way of behaving towards me in a more healthier way because of me, right? He has his moments still though. And I can't control that. But when he does, I know what I'm going to put up with and what I'm not. And I'm in my power. And sometimes dad has to go on timeout. Some of you that know about me, like dad's on timeout. And I have to do it sometimes just for the sake of my own well-being. But doesn't mean that I don't still love him. I don't hold any resentment when that happens. And I definitely check in with myself to make sure that there's no sort of energetic clutter, to do with it. But this is something that's important. So think about, and I say my dad, but I was just giving that example because my mum's passed. But women in your life, so the women that you work with, what is your relationship with the women that you work with? I'm so grateful. I actually shout out to all of the women I work with. You are incredible women, and I'm really grateful to have such strong relationships with you all. But that was also down to a lot of my self-work that then allowed me to be in these really good relationships with female colleagues and clients and whatever. So that's something I love. And it's a positive relationship. It's like we're always trying to be progressive and positive and support one another and raise each other up. But did I have that back in the days? No. There was a lot of competition and other things, and that does happen because females do get quite competitive, especially in a masculine world. It becomes like, it's hard, and it's because they're wounded, and it becomes a bit of a cycle. So, and then also think about your friends in your life, like the ones that you actually, maybe you stop talking to certain females. Have you healed and let go of that resentment? And then the females that are in your life, do you have a healthy dynamic with them? And, I'm pretty much a loner. Like, I love being a loner. I do have a few friends, but I'm very much a very sort of free-spirited soul. And so the females that are in my life, and even male friends, are in my life because they understand that and they respect that and know that I'm kind of like that friend that is there and is loving, but is there and is in the ether of the universe somewhere. Do you know what I mean? And I don't necessarily need to be that friend that's always sort of hanging out and checking in and all of that. I just need to be allowed to just be me and be free, and and there's no clinginess or expectation that we're going to be friends forever. And I say that to my friends, that just know that life transforms and changes. Maybe you move on, maybe it's things take you in a different part and I don't resonate for you anymore. Well, that doesn't have to be painful. And that's again a change, right? Like family members, you may have been really close with some and not with others, and it shifts over time. And also ask yourself, other family members in the family, like aunts, cousins, sisters, like what's the relationship there and how do you feel there? And try to make peace with it. You don't have to go up to all of them that you don't talk to or you do talk to and try to just overtly say stuff, but some of it can be done internally and some of it can be done overtly. If you are in those relationships and you're actively in them, you can start to think about how you can find better dynamics. So yeah, look at the relationship with friends, family, aunts, sisters, cousins, whether they're in your life now actively or they're not. Like, you can also make peace with the past, right? Like I said, don't hold on to that resentment. But for those that are in your life, then you can also work on trying to find more peace and harmony and expressing yourself and being vulnerable. You may decide through that some people are not really people that you want to be around all the time or invest time and energy with, or there's ones that you do, and actually it's just about refining love languages. So whatever that means to you, just allow and embrace the change. And that brings it to the end. That's 10 ways to access dark feminine energy. And I think it's all good and well me saying all of this, but if you really want to access that dark feminine energy and start to really cultivate it and become more familiar with it, either you embrace it or some way you're going to have to face it, because it's going to come up. There's going to be things that are going to come up and then you're not really in the driving seat. So what I'm trying to do here is give you the ability to be in the driving seat, and it will be much more, empowering for you to take it in that position and really, manifest and co-create the life that you're here to create, a beautiful life. And I tell you, when you're really riding that wave and you take that accountability, life is never going to be 100% smooth, but you can navigate those challenges in such a more seamless and sort of smoother way because you know who you are and you can stay true to who you are. So with that being said, I hope you like this episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment, let me know your feedback. I always love to hear from you guys. Sending you peace, love, light, and abundance. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Bye.